Welcome in to another episode of Betting the Pitch. I'm your host, the real_G Warner on Twitter, and I'm thankful for all of you joining, whether you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. If you're listening on Spotify, hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, hit the subscribe button, leave a 5-star review, or if you're on Twitter, hit that follow button, and you can interact with me and see the millions and millions of soccer bets I put out every weekend. Also some other ones, though. The NFL has not started off great for me. Love kickers at this point, but let that go to the side. Instead, I'll spend a lot more time with actual people that are paid to kick soccer balls. I guess NFL kickers are, but ultimately, based on whenever I back them, I'm not sure they really know how to do what they're supposed to be doing. Today's episode, we're going to go through midweek matches. We got the English Premier League going in full. The same can be said for La Liga in Spain. And then also, if I can find some lines, they're always, you never really know about Coppa Italia stuff, and also for the DFB Pokal. It's possible DFB will be out by now. Maybe we'll see some Coppa Italia as well. A lot of the big teams in Germany are playing. A lot of the big teams in Italy somehow got some time off. Lucky them. And without further ado, let's get into this episode. Give best bets for each of the leagues I'm covering. I'm not sure what I'll do for the tournaments or the cups that are going on. But just before we get into lines, I want to say all lines quoted on this podcast are courtesy of betonline.ag. It's my favorite place to get my bets down early and with reduced juice offered on almost every game you want to bet right up until game time. I will say they do take lines down sometimes at game time. So 2 minutes before is probably the latest you should go. Please use BetOnline. I'll have a promo code coming out soon, and they'll match whatever you deposit. But for now, getting it out there just so everyone knows where I'm quoting lines from, so they're not just thinking I'm making them all up. So without further ado, here we are. English Premier League, Brighton hosting Nottingham Forest. Currently Brighton a 1.25 goal favorite. And based on what I saw this week, it's really hard to I am caught up fully on the Premier League. Almost done with La Liga. I made those two my priorities this weekend. Other leagues, no idea what happened. So it's going to be a little bit quiet on that Western front over there. But anyway, Nottingham Forest, I backed this weekend at Wolves. If they converted a penalty in the second half, they probably deserved 2. Wolves deserved 1. They got 1. They could have tied a match up late, didn't get it. Really, really poor penalty from Brennan Johnson. But I thought they played pretty well. I mean, Wolves were probably on top for most of the game, as you would expect at home team, better team, bigger budget. But Nottingham Forest were very competitive. I feel like they've been playing better ever since that embarrassing loss at Leicester City, where their manager, Steve Cooper, said that was the worst loss of his career. Or maybe he was just speaking about his time at Nottingham Forest. Probably some worse losses other than that, like maybe when he was at Swansea or something like that. But ultimately, Nottingham Forest, they're playing like a relegation team. I went in and backed them based on Wolves just not really having an offense to speak of. Unfortunately, if you handball a shot on goal from Adama Traore, which it's very unlikely he'll even hit the target, that's how you lose games like that. Fortunately, they were 3/4 goal underdogs, so I lost half a unit and was a penalty kick, a 7.77 XG away from taking a full win. So I'm disappointed about that one, but felt like a lot of times it gets there, and worst case scenario, I lost half of what I risked. But how does that affect then this Brighton matchup? I think Nottingham Forest, being that they spent so much money on players in the offseason, I feel like that's a good sign. They have a lot more legs to work with compared to a champion side that didn't really buy much, which we'll get to Bournemouth probably later. Brighton, on the other hand, I think are a team in transition right now. Losing their manager, who was the do-everything guy for them for years and kept them in the league despite very, very low amounts of money spent on team and on talent, more importantly. Graham Potter left for Chelsea. He's probably turning them around. And Roberto De Zerbi is an all-offense, all-attack guy. The problem for the situation is that's not what the team is built for. It's not a league that really caters to that, because you really need to have good defense to be in the Premier League, or you can't survive. That's clearly not going to be an issue for Brighton based on how well they started this year. But I do wonder if results start going against them, if Roberto De Zerbi just stops using the Potter techniques and instead goes to what he was doing at Sassuolo, which is basically we're going on the front foot, we're going to beat you 5-4. I don't think that's going to work in the Premier League, and that is certainly something I'd like to bet against. I do think Brighton are really strong, but I've never really liked them as a favorite, and I feel like as a 1.25 goal favorite here, that's pretty high in my humble opinion. I don't really love backing Nottingham Forest right now. I had some good success earlier in the season, but they've been in a pretty terrible run of form lately. But getting more than a goal from a team that's in transition, I feel like is enough for me. So I like them. This is a Tuesday match, getting 1.25. Another Tuesday match looks like the last one is Crystal Palace hosting those Wolves. Crystal Palace, a quarter goal favorite at home with most of the juice. And they're a great home team. They played a really tough game early Saturday morning. So that's nice for them to get a few extra hours of rest. So they're on the road. Wolves were at home, took care of business against Nottingham Forest, thanks to a penalty kick and a penalty save ultimately, and got out of the relegation zone. Big win for the new manager, who I still haven't even heard his name yet, but doesn't seem like that famous of a guy, because they would have spent years on it by now, knowing how the Premier League covers that stuff. But Wolves, a quarter goal underdog. They did a lot of business to try to add offensive players because they had no offense last year, and it finally hit them when they were no longer in the European chase, despite scoring no goals last year. I don't know that I really trust the Wolves defense very much. They've certainly strengthened that this year as well, but they've also lost a lot of pieces in that area and are playing some guys that seem pretty out of place. So I take that back. Don't know that the Wolves all defense team is really that anymore. I think they're trying to transition to an offensive one. That's a rough transition. I don't really trust them to score. So an offensive team that struggles on defense, that can't really score, looks like a really bad bet as a quarter goal underdog on the road. So if anything, I lean Crystal Palace, but I doubt that even that plus 120 on their money line to win in regulation with a loss and a draw would even be that interesting. Pick's probably very expensive. So probably not on my list. Move to Wednesday. Brentford hosts Chelsea. Currently Brentford, a 3/4 goal underdog at home. Good get off the map performance for them against Brighton in the early one on Friday. I don't know that my concerns about Brentford are assuaged at this point. Big word for all you dictionary people out there. Chelsea, I feel like the more Graham Potter's there, the better they're getting. They were really dominant against AC Milan, though certainly a big spending gap between the Italian champions, the Scudetto holders, and Chelsea, one of the biggest clubs in the world. But still impressive, because Chelsea were really not impressive, anything but impressive for most of this season. And that's what got Thomas Tuchel fired, and really kind of speaks to the end of last season. They weren't doing very well. But I guess when you think about Chelsea now as a 3/4 goal favorite on the road, maybe Graham Potter has unleashed Mason Mount, maybe, but there's a big mistake by Tyrone Mings with a header that he just didn't clear the right direction, and that led to the first goal, and then things got uglier from there. I still don't know that I believe in the Chelsea offense to do a lot, because Kai Havertz just doesn't finish chances. It's nice that Timo Werner's not there. They have the two most wasteful Germans, besides maybe Angela Merkel. Actually, that's not fair. I don't know if I should make political jokes. I don't really know a lot about her. But I think from where I come from on this one, Chelsea still don't score very well. And this spread requires a 1-goal win to take half a unit from me. I think if they move to a 1-goal favorite, I'll be very interested in Brentford, though I do worry that their defense is not the same as it was last year. I do think that the confidence in Ivan Toney's great Friday performance certainly helps the Brentford offense that really needs it. But losing that attacking threat, creativity guy in Christian Eriksen to Manchester United was a big loss for them. And he really turned around their season when they were really looking like they were about to sink halfway through last year. And I feel like being unable to replace them, they haven't really gotten much in anyone who's been playing in the midfield. So it's really hard to create against good Premier League defenses when it's just Ivan Toney and Brian Mbeumo, and maybe a little Johan Wissa as well, but ultimately all three forwards essentially. Next we'll go Bournemouth hosting Southampton. Pick 'em right now with a little more juice on Southampton. I don't really think Southampton deserves to be favored here, even if it's just 2 cents on a dollar. I don't know that I feel strong enough in Bournemouth. I do feel like Bournemouth will not lose this matchup. So if they move to a quarter goal underdog, I really like that. I don't know that will unfortunately happen though, based on where this juice is right now, and it's Monday night here in the U.S. So only got a day and a half or so till Wednesday afternoon. But I'm watching this one like a hawk. Bournemouth have been the honestly the gift that keeps on giving. I think they've covered like 6 straight matches or something like that. Those are the trains, the bandwagons you try to jump on and ride them until you fall off. And I don't know that Southampton will end that, but it's unfortunately it's a good spot for me to I guess stay away from it, because as I mentioned earlier on the podcast, these 2 matches in 3 days are going to be a big challenge for the smaller budget teams, specifically in the Premier League, because there's so much of a chasm between the big spenders and the low spenders, or the not so spenders, the ones that don't spend. Southampton, though, they sold off a lot of players and aren't exactly the deepest team out there either. So I feel like if you can find a normal Premier League team that might be a little bit overrated right now based on that rest advantage, that they don't really have much of one because their depth isn't much either. That might be something to do some arbitrage on, or to potentially find as a decent angle. I'm going to be watching this one like a hawk, but at Pick'em, I don't think I'm going to jump on Bournemouth. Though ultimately, if they draw at Pick'em at home, you get your money back. And that, I mean, there's been worse wagers that I've recommended, certainly. Next, we go Newcastle hosting Everton, calling Newcastle a 1-goal favorite. All the juice on Everton right now. And I lean to Everton. I feel like they've established themselves as a serious defensive team. They're going to make it really hard on Newcastle to score. I still don't believe necessarily in Newcastle's offense. I do believe in their defense. They got pretty fortunate that Manchester United were unable to convert a couple of big chances this weekend, though they also had, I think, one of their own that they could have finished. Newcastle, ultimately, they're a good defense. They've been, I think, outplaying where they sit in the table, which is still pretty high. But having to win games by more than a goal is a lot to ask out of that team. I do have big concerns on how Everton will score. So that might be enough to keep me away. But ultimately with Newcastle, they're a defense that I want to back as an underdog, but a favorite I still want to fade. Don't know exactly what the status of Callum Wilson will be. I think he subbed off at a reasonable time this weekend, but it seems like without him, that offense is even more challenged. And it's, I think, pretty challenged normally. Next, we have Liverpool hosting West Ham. Biggest upset, I think, of the last weekend, but I'm not sure how deserved it was. But Liverpool got what they wanted, a counterattacking situation, and got to exploit Joao Cancelo in space. I mean, what more could you ask for? Jurgen Klopp got sent off. I don't think that affects too much other than him on the sideline, which does bother officials and I think get some calls. But ultimately, Liverpool, a 1.25 goal favorite at Anfield. Pretty nice to get 2 back-to-back home games from Man City into West Ham, though 2 European sides, so not the easiest stretch. I think I have big questions about them as a big favorite. That probably goes without saying. But Trent Alexander-Arnold, I mean, as they took a lead, I feel like he was probably on the bench, and if he was going to play, it was because they needed to get a set piece that would have maybe scored a goal to equalize. But I think as long as Liverpool were equal, all square level, with Manchester City, I think they're going to keep him on the sideline, because I feel like his defense has been so bad. His offense hasn't really been there, and certainly hasn't been enough creativity to overcome how bad he is on defense. And when I look at this matchup, ultimately Liverpool, they don't, I mean, Darwin Nunez is looking like a worse signing by the day. He's young and will improve, but not finding Mo Salah on a 3-on-1 with a huge space was, I mean, criminal, especially if Liverpool had ended up dropping points in that matchup because Man City were able to equalize or something like that. But he doesn't seem like he's doing much. They really miss Sadio Mane. Jota's missing a lot of stuff. He's been so banged up for a year now that's been a problem. I don't know really what to say with Liverpool. The result on Sunday doesn't change my mind at all. West Ham with a tough draw on the road, fought back to equalize and had a bunch of chances to win at Southampton. Certainly not the most impressive of performances. They've gotten better over, I guess, I think ultimately because they've been so bad in the Premier League. Anything they did in the Europa League or Conference League, whichever one they're in, is a huge benefit to them. I like that 1.25. I really do. I feel like Liverpool, I mean, really tough spot for Liverpool coming off the monstrous Man City win. There's probably people in Liverpool talking about them now being in the race for the title again, even though Jurgen Klopp said that wasn't possible. I don't know what to say about that one necessarily, but I do really like West Ham getting that 1.25. They're a solid defensive team. They're going to try to use their height to bother Liverpool. I feel like anytime you can put Joe Gomez in any sort of space or any stressful situations, he's likely to fall apart. Virgil van Dijk's not as young as he used to be, coming off that knee injury. He hasn't really seemed like the same. Still the enforcer and giant out there, especially compared to little guys like Bernardo Silva on the pitch. But West Ham have some giants out there to battle and throw some haymakers in the box. And I like that side getting 1.25. Manchester United then hosts Tottenham. Currently, Manchester United a pick'em right now with all the juice, which I think has fallen from 1/4. And two teams. Tottenham. I mean, historically, Manchester United clearly way better. But going into the season, I mean, Tottenham were supposed to finish way higher than Manchester United. So maybe it's unlikely that quarter comes back, though Tottenham certainly haven't looked very good recently. Manchester United had an awful start to the season, but then started turning it around. Didn't look great offensively this weekend and ultimately played Cristiano Ronaldo in back-to-back matches Thursday and Sunday. I can't imagine he then plays on Wednesday too, but he also is a maniac and is in great shape. So maybe that happens. But I lean Tottenham here. I mean, they're going to go on the road to Manchester United and try to play counter-attacking style. They've done it literally against Nottingham Forest, so they're going to do it against Man U. I'm not sure that is going to be surprising to anyone, and there's probably some problems that you can't surprise your opponent, but I feel like Manchester United and Erik ten Hag have shown that they can fall into traps based on how bad they were to start the year. But he showed it at Ajax against Benfica, getting knocked out in the Champions League, and part of why I kind of don't have a lot of faith in him. But I like Tottenham right now. Pick them right now is not enough for me. Though I do like getting odds on that, and certainly getting your money back on a draw wouldn't be so bad. But I think when they move back to a quarter, which I expect that they will before this kicks off, even if it's an expensive 1/4, I expect I'll take it, though I certainly don't love Tottenham at this point. Moving to Thursday, Fulham hosting Aston Villa. Currently, Fulham a pick'em. All the juice on Villa on the road, actually. And so this one might climb to a quarter goal underdog on Fulham. Fulham with not a really good performance this weekend. Got Mitrovic back, which was big, but he didn't really look like he was fully healthy. They've had a kind of a tough run lately, certainly some bad luck and just stupidity in defending corners. Zonal marking, just get out of here with that, unfortunately. But Aston Villa, I don't believe in them. It's as simple as that. They make big mistakes in their defense. Steven Gerrard clearly didn't want to use the pair of Konsa and Mings, but that's what he's had to do ever since Diego Carlos went down. It's not ideal. They don't score enough goals. They don't create enough offensively. Coutinho, I don't know what he does anymore. He feels like he's a little bit past it until he gets into Brazil yellow. But Fulham, as soon as they move to a quarter goal underdog, I'll be very interested in backing them on Thursday, and I expect that will happen before kickoff. Last but not least, Leicester hosts Leeds. Leicester, a quarter goal favorite. Leeds played really tough. Amazing that they didn't equalize against Arsenal. It's kind of sad that they didn't, but I guess good for the title race, and given Man City some concerns. But Leeds, they're going to play attacking, aggressive football that's going to leave them in some tough situations. Leicester certainly have the offensive capabilities to take advantage of that. Their defense, though, is really bad, and I feel like putting the Leicester defenders on the ball in stressful situations is a great way to pick up points, especially as an underdog. Leeds plus 1/4, I really like, especially because I think James Maddison is suspended for this match. That's a big deal. He's really important to the entire makeup of Leicester and part of the overbalance towards offense because their defense has been so bad and they've needed it that way. I don't love going against Leicester home crowd, but didn't do a lot for them offensively this weekend against Crystal Palace. Leeds certainly an inferior defense to Crystal Palace, but I think they have more offense, and I think they can play in a shootout a lot better than Crystal Palace could. Ultimately, goalless are the best type of bets to make, but because you have no chance of losing. But I do think Leeds have a good chance to go into Leicester and win. And kind of like I said, the bandwagon for Bournemouth of betting on them, I think I'm on a bandwagon of betting against Leicester, and I see no reason to get off of that, especially with no Maddison. So to recap the English Premier League for this, I guess, midweek makeup matches, if you will. Try to pick a best bet for this league. I do like Nottingham Forest getting a goal and a quarter from Brighton. I don't like Wolves. I do like Brentford at home, but I want that full one. We're not there yet. Bournemouth, if they move to an underdog, not there. Everton, I like getting +1, but I'm not in a rush to grab that now. I do like West Ham getting 1.25 at Liverpool. Tottenham, I'd love for them to be a quarter. They're not there yet. Same thing with Fulham at home. And last but not least, I do like Leeds getting a quarter at Leicester. So I'm going to go. I mean, it's scary to fade Liverpool at home, especially after a big confidence boost with that win. But I gotta say, unfortunately, I don't think they're that strong, and I feel like it's a really good emotional spot to get them. Maybe in a slow start, I think Anfield will wake them up and probably keep them pretty awake for most of the match. But I just think Nottingham Forest are a little less trustworthy. So my best bet from England, I'm going to go with West Ham +1.25 on the road at Liverpool, and that is a Wednesday start. You can do your time zones if you need to, because there's so many in this country, and we're way off English time anyway. Moving to Spain into La Liga. So I guess we'll have most of the matches because the two that played today probably don't have a lineup just yet. Anyway, Sevilla hosts Valencia on Tuesday. This is Sevilla, a quarter goal favorite. They're getting a lot more faith, a lot more belief in themselves ever since Jorge Sampaoli came in, replacing Julian Lopetegui, who was a great servant for the club, but things weren't going anywhere with him for about a full year now. Valencia got a really good goal from Edison Cavani. I do think he's going to miss this matchup with a calf injury. I don't think I'm breaking any news, but he had a leg problem, not a knee, but seemed like he was going to be in physical trouble, distress. And that unfortunately really hurts Valencia because he wasn't finishing all his chances. He was really struggling to get on the board. Finally did, but is a threat up there that leaves a lot of things more open for the rest of Valencia. They've gone through a lot of changes, selling off their good players, unfortunately, because of budget constraints. Sevilla as a favorite is kind of a weird phenomenon. We haven't seen it for a while. Yes, they've had some recent success, but I still don't believe in them. And I like the idea of betting against them, especially on a Valencian team that are just as young, it feels like, as Sevilla are. I mean, Sevilla is old at a lot of positions, but they're trying to get younger. Valencia have already bought in on the youth movement, and I feel like they're kind of following the Arsenal train where they're going to have some really poor performances, and this certainly could be one on the road in a tough venue. But I think Sevilla's got a lot of problems, so I do like Valencia getting that quarter. Getafe then hosts the Athletic Club. Currently, Getafe, a half a goal underdog at home. And that's saying something because Athletic Club's, their offense has never been great. They had a really good kind of setup to host Atletico Madrid in crisis off a really poor performance in the Champions League. That might mean they're not going through. But Athletic Club didn't score, missed a bunch of easy chances. Iñaki Williams back to his old self, not being able to finish yet again. I hope that's changed. But I got to say, Athletic Club are a little bit vulnerable on the road as a half a goal favorite, where a draw wins a full bet if you back Getafe. The other side of things, though, how are Getafe going to score? Under 2.25 looks like probably the smartest thing out there. I've not had a really great run of underplays this year, and the bad beats and under in soccer just feel as bad almost as the ghost runners in baseball. I like Getafe getting a half at home, but I need to look at this and feel a little bit more confident in their offense before I get in. So maybe that 2.25 might be the strongest one on that game there. Last one on Tuesday, we have not Athletic Club. We have Atletico Madrid, who just played Athletic Club. They're 1-goal favorite to Rayo Vallecano at home. Anytime Athletic is a favorite, I want to go against them, especially giving a full goal of insurance, especially against a team like Rayo, who are going to go in there and try to defend, counterattack. And I feel like that's the perfect setup for Atletico Madrid because they don't really want to have the ball. They're not going to give it to you and sit back and sit in and just try to counter like Conte will at Tottenham, even against bad teams. But I do think Atleti are at risk here because they seem to win very close games at home when they do win. Usually they're in some crazy fashion where a defender is scoring, getting a red card, and like yelling at people all in the same 3-minute stretch. That does make me want to go against them as a big favorite, especially when a single goal loss is a push for me. So Rayo, it's going to be hard for me to keep off my card, even though I haven't really loved how they've been performing so far. I do like that +1 there. Moving to Wednesday, Cadiz hosting Real Betis. Currently, Cadiz, a quarter goal underdog at home. And that's a lot of respect for them. Betis have been playing a ton of matches, and like this is no difference. They've been rotating quite a bit, unlike, I mean, they played Roma 2 times in a row. Roma basically played the same lineup, and Betis certainly had a lower tier team in the Europa League competition, but ultimately they've moved through, I think, to the knockout stages for a second straight year. Congratulations to them for that. Their better La Liga side has not had as much success, but certainly higher level of competition. They do go into Cadiz, though, who can't score, have had a really, really tough time of it lately. They stole a win and then stole a lead at against Espanyol, I think at home, but then fell apart when Jose Lu really broke their backs. I don't know that getting a quarter of a goal, even at home on Cadiz, is enough for me. All the juice, almost all the juice right now is on Betis. So maybe this climbs to a half of a goal. But until it's there, I can't really consider Cadiz. And I worry that Betis's offense can score, but against that team, there's a lot of red card risk when you're defending the whole time. And with Ledesma and the decision he makes out of the goalkeeping position for Cadiz. So even that 2.25 doesn't seem that interesting to me, though. Cadiz, I don't think will score. Maybe a team total under on Cadiz. That might be the way to go. Valladolid then hosts Celta de Vigo. Currently Valladolid a pick'em. All the juice on Celta on the road. Maybe this climbs to a quarter of a goal. Until it gets there, I'm not really sure that I have much that I want to say about this one. I do like Valladolid. I still really respect them and want to back them. I thought their performance at Espanyol really was listless, didn't really do a lot offensively, and ultimately paid the price from one bad mistake of not shutting down a cross into the box that Jose Lu, who I even said in my write-up on Twitter right before the game, I was like, they can't keep relying on him. Well, they did. He got them the one goal off of like one of their few chances. They had some, but not too many big ones, I don't think. And one goal was enough, and Valladolid really had no offense to speak of that whole day. Now on 2 days rest with a pretty thin squad, they rotate a little bit better than most of the newly promoteds across Europe, but ultimately, I don't think Sean Weisman has been really considered in that team. He came in as a substitute. Maybe he starts in this one, but I just don't know that there's a lot of offense there. Until it moves to a quarter, though, there's very little for me to discuss. And that under 2.25 just doesn't even seem that interesting, unfortunately, because Celta de Vigo have a lot of goal scorers in that team, and they're going to play on the front foot. They're going to control the ball, and Valladolid at best will be on the counterattack. Next, we'll go Real Sociedad hosting Mallorca, a match actually I went to last year. I think it was 1.25 that moved down to Real Sociedad being a 1-goal favorite at home at the Real Arena. It was a really tight game right until the end. Deflection that went in, goal scorer, I don't even remember because he has barely played for Real Sociedad and had a lot of pimples on his face from what I remember, so it had to be a young guy. But here we have Sociedad a 1-goal favorite to Mallorca. Mallorca is going to play really defensively. They don't have Marichi, who I think is suspended for 2 matches based on a red card he took towards the end of the last match. I guess last week, not this past weekend, but 2-game suspension. Real Sociedad played pretty well. They weren't getting a lot of respect on the road at Celta, but they did what they needed to do, took 2 leads and held on to the second one. I think that they have problems goal scoring. Sorloth either looks awesome or really is not very good. He's like the biggest bodied winger, but plays striker and doesn't really do a lot with the ball. Can't really dribble. Great at crossing the ball, and Leipzig found that for a little bit, but he's not playing that position for Sociedad, and I don't think he will because of the injury to Umar Sadiq, and after they sold Alexander Isak. I have some questions about Sociedad winning handily here. Mallorca is going to play really defensively. I feel better about their defense ever since they switched their defenders and started playing Valjean and Rayo, I believe. Valjean has been a better defender, but there's one kind of switch off between, I forget exactly which 2 defenders. But Javier Aguirre, the Mexican, when he came in, Mexican manager, did a lot to put in a 4-5-1 and just play great defense. That's what they do. So getting that full goal of insurance on the road in a venue that they literally almost escaped the goalless draw, my first European match ever live, which would have been a tough start for me. It was nice to see the Sociedad team, crowd all going nuts right at the death of the goal scoring. Though I was not really loving it as my profit was leaving my account and going back and resulted in a push. But I do like Mallorca getting that +1. I do like under 2.25. It gives you a little bit more leeway with Mallorca. I just don't know where Mallorca goals come from, so that might be the better side, actually. Elche then hosts Real Madrid. Currently, Elche, a 1.5-goal underdog at home. They've been playing a little bit better. New manager who's I guess a rebound from the past. Came back. He was shocked when he got a call from the owner or something like that to come back. They're going to play really defensively. I heard in the post game interview that the Elche player is saying that they're going to possess the ball more. I don't really know if that's a thing. And against Real Madrid, you don't want to possess the ball because them Vinny Jr. running at you in a counterattack is very scary. Certainly, Real Madrid has a big letdown coming after that smashing of. I mean, I guess it was a little bit close late as they're only up 2-1 before a VAR penalty, but Real Madrid had a big win in El Clasico, certainly let down opportunity or spot here for Elche to take advantage of. I just like, even if Elche hang around for a while, I feel like there's eventually Real Madrid are going to score. And if it's in the first 89 minutes, there's a good chance they get another one. So I don't know if that'll be enough. Under 3 certainly is nice to have that push on the third goal because I don't know that Elche can score. Moving to Thursday, Almeria hosts Girona. Currently, Almeria pick'em with most of the juice right now. 2 newly promoted sides. If one of these moves to a quarter goal underdog, I'm interested, especially with Almeria and their goal scoring troubles ever since selling Umar Sadiq. They're getting a little bit, and they have a little bit more talent on the wings, kind of second strikers or wingers that support a striker. But Girona, I think, are competitive here, and I'm looking for them to move to that quarter goal underdog. I also think under 2.25 seems like worth it, but I lean under on every game, apparently. Osasuna then hosts Espanyol. Osasuna, a quarter goal favorite with all the juice. Haven't yet watched their match against Villarreal as that was today, and I was working, but they've been playing a lot better at home than they were last year because they were awful. But they also kind of had a really great stretch down this recently. Espanyol, on the other hand, I mean, Jose Lu said in his post-game interview that they're kind of learning how to play together more, and that you probably expected that to happen because they're all a bunch of new kind of cast off from other teams, but ultimately all come into the same place. I do think I guess I'm interested in Espanyol. It's weird to switch because I was really singing the anti praises when I made them I guess fading them my best bet on the RJ Bell Dream Preview European Soccer Edition podcast I do with Mackenzie Rivers each week. But I do like them here as they're getting odds from a team that doesn't always have the best offense. Certainly improved Osasuna offense this year, but still not a great one. If they climb to half of a goal, I'm not sure how I can resist it ultimately. We'll see what happens with that one. And last but not least, Barcelona hosting Villarreal. Barcelona giving their 1-goal favorite at home at Camp Nou, or the Spotify Camp Nou. And they have all the juice right now, so might even be climbing to 1.25. Villarreal have been struggling to score. They're really banged up. It's going to really test them. They've been playing a ton of matches, but they've been really having one set starting lineup for La Liga, which hasn't been doing well, and kind of a island of misfit toy backups lineup for the Conference League, and they've been winning every match there. I don't know if that's going to creep into the decision making of Unai Emery. He might play different rotations or put different players in. But from where I sit, Villarreal as a bigger than 1-goal underdog, currently 1 goal right now, but it looks like it's trending towards 1.25. I'm very interested in going against Barcelona. I think they have huge problems. I don't know any way that they bounce back from Real Madrid and are a better position than they were entering that matchup, especially after likely crashing out of Champions League. Their defense is really bad. Might be exactly what Villarreal need, though they certainly have a day's less of rest, which is a little bit damaging, unfortunately. But on Thursday, I do like Villarreal, and I think they'll close 1.25, and I like that a little bit more because even on a single goal loss, you at least get some profit. So to go through best bets to join the Premier League, I do like Valencia getting 1/4 goal from Sevilla. Getafe getting a half from Athletic Club is interesting, but not sure that I'm ready to suggest it just yet. I like Rayo Vallecano +1 at Atletico Madrid. I feel like that's a good setup for a team that wants to counterattack and will have lots of opportunity because a team that's really just in flux and has been ever since they won La Liga and started investing. Cadiz getting 1/4 at home, I feel like is too short for me. I do like that under a little bit. Not much to do in the Valladolid game as it's pick'em. Mallorca, I like getting that full goal of insurance from Real Sociedad, but that one I feel like could climb as well. Elche probably skip. Girona, nothing to do until they move to 1/4 goal underdog. I do like Espanyol at 1/2 goal, but not there yet. And I do like Villarreal getting that full goal from Barcelona, but I kind of want to see that they got out of today's game healthy because they have not been. Gerard Moreno has been missing for what feels like 2 seasons now, and that's really affected and impaired their offense quite a bit. For my best bet, I'm going to go with Rayo Vallecano getting a full goal of insurance from Atletico Madrid on the road. And then I will summarize everything up in my ultimate best bet for this episode. It looks like it'll just be Premier League and Spanish La Liga, but I'm going to see if there's something available in the other leagues section to see if we got any DFB Pokal, which of course I don't see any of that, which is weird because they're kicking off, I think, tomorrow with matches. Anyway, so we'll go to Coppa Italia. Genoa hosting Spal, 1-goal favorite Genoa. Spal 2 years removed at least from Serie A. Genoa just won and on their way back, hopefully, because that's a cool name, because they have a griffin on their badge and they go by Il Grifoni, and that's my name, so I like that. But not much to do with betting, and I feel like as a 1-goal favorite, it's bigger than I was expecting, but maybe Spal is worse. Torino then host Cittadella. Torino, a Serie A team that's been really struggling offensively. They're a 1.25 goal favorite, though it looks like that's falling down to 1 as the juice is massive. Hard to really know a lot about Cittadella. Spezia then hosts Brescia, whose Brescia's been out of Serie A for 3 years now, I think. Spezia, 0.5 goal favorite. It speaks to how badly they've been playing, honestly. They've been so bad. And maybe this is the time to get right, but I would think if you're Spezia and you're worried about getting relegated, you're probably not playing your best team here in Coppa Italia. Parma then hosts Bari, two sides that are not in the top flight. Parma, 0.5 goal favorite at home, all the juice on Bari. Can't say I know a ton about that. And then a really good one, two teams that are playing really well in Serie A right now. Udinese, a 3/4 goal favorite with all the juice right now at home to Monza. Monza getting a lot of respect from the marketplace, as are Udinese, but ultimately Monza getting a ton most recently, which I respect that, and especially in Serie A more so than almost any other soccer league across Europe. Feels like the money is right there more often. When something looks weird, it's usually for a reason and it seems to pay off. But doesn't feel like a lot of respect in that number right there. So if Monza moved to a full goal underdog, I think they might make it onto my card in the Coppa Italia, like round 2 or something like that. So for ultimate best bet time, I gave out I gave out West Ham plus 1.25 at Liverpool as my best bet from England. I'm gonna also compare that with my other best bet, which for the Spanish La Liga was Rayo Vallecano plus 1. I guess I like some road teams with tired legs. It's a little bit scary this week, but I like them, and I feel like those are two big numbers from teams that haven't been playing very well, and there's a lot of room to lose and push or even cover in the West Ham's case. So I'm going to give as my ultimate best bet on this show, I'll give West Ham plus 1.25 at Liverpool. That'll be my best bet. You can follow me on Twitter, _G Warner. Subscribe on YouTube, Griffin Warner, or like, subscribe, all those sort of things. Give 5 stars on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts. I really appreciate you tuning in, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed this. Any questions, throw them through, and we'll talk. I'll try to figure out next podcast, probably coming on Friday, the normal one for the weekend's plays. See you all then.